All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here, going to be commentating another game. This is game number 4 between DarKFoRcE and Grubby. And I am out of breath because game number 3 was effing nuts. Unreal. If you guys somehow happened upon this game number 4 between DarKFoRcE and Grubby and you have not yet seen game number 3, I suggest slowing your roll and heading on over there and checking it out because that was crazy. I don't even know what to say. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Let's pay attention to this match. We again, DarKFoRcE and Grubby, game number 4. This time we are on StarCraft Plateau, and which variation of this? No destructible rocks there in the back. A bit too abusable. It was deemed by Blizzard, and they went ahead and removed those. And looks like, as we almost always see Protoss players do against Zerg opponents on this map, looks like we're gonna be seeing a Forge Fast expand. Why do they do this? Because it's so damn effective on this map. With only that one entrance, it's very easy to Forge Fast Expand and defend this here and get up that nice, strong economy. So Grubby is, in fact, going to be going for that. Going to be going with that wall off with the Forge, maybe the Gateway and the Cybernetics Core as well, and having those Photon Cannons placed behind it. Now, you do see some players actually come out with that one space for the Zealot, but more times than not, it's going to be that full wall off with those buildings and then just destroying a building later down the road. We will see, though, which one Grubby decides to go for. Looks like Grubby did end up scouting DarKFoRcE immediately, and still, even on this map, with that macro focus and that tendency for Protoss players to go for that quick expansion, as I mentioned. Even with that being the case, as we can see here, DarKFoRcE not taking any chances whatsoever. He is going with that safe opening. That is what he's comfortable doing in this matchup, and that is, in fact, what he's going to stick with. And you know what? I can't say I blame him. It's pretty effective, and it's worked pretty well for him. Right now, DarKFoRcE is up 2-1 in this series between these two players. Grubby did take last game, but still, it doesn't really matter. And there's that expansion. Actually, the expansion before the Forge. He's really not concerned with Zerglings, and I'm a little bit concerned for him, to be completely frank with you, given the fact that, hey, you know, DarKFoRcE starts on one base. If he deems it necessary, he could just churn out those Zerglings and just go for a straight push right up against Grubby. And it's going to be hard for Grubby to deal with that. You can see that Forge just coming down. DarKFoRcE is going to try to prevent this wall in, and you know, it'd be baller if he came down with a I don't expect it, but man, if he came down with like a hatchery right up here to prevent that, that would have been awesome. Looks like it's not going to be the case though. There will be no hatchery, unfortunately, but you know what that would have done actually? Hilariously enough, if that cannon had been placed there and there was a hatchery right here, it would have forced him to attack it, which is actually exactly what DarKFoRcE would want, because that would have forced those Broodlings to come out. It would it would have stopped this wall off, because once that did drop, he could have streamed Zerglings in. That could have happened. It didn't though, so let's stop talking about the coulda, woulda, shoulda, and let's pay attention to what's going on. Guys, pulled off the gas, metabolic boost coming on through. There's that Queen. Here's the Expo. So DarKFoRcE, even with this window of opportunity, given the fact that there was Nexus before Forge, still decided I'm not going to bother going for it. We can see that this, given the large ground distance, we can see that this Photon Cannon is actually going to be in by the time these Zerglings head on through. Are they going to be able to eke through? There is a small window of opportunity. Is he going to try to take it? No. Just pulling back. Unfortunately, though, he did lose that one Zergling. But still, now he knows what's going on, and let's see if we get that full, complete wall-off. Yes, we did. Nice and flush right here. This wall-off is full indeed. And yeah, it's probably going to be basically required to kill off a building later down the road, but really not the biggest a deal for him. It's either, of course, going to be this Forge or this Gateway once that time does come. Immediately responding by coming up with this, so obviously DarKFoRcE favoring that macro style as opposed to going for that strong push, which was his other option. He instead just going to be coming out with this additional base. He's going to try to keep that one up above his opponent. Is he back on gas yet? No, he's not, given the fact that he went for this third so very quickly. Wants to kind of concentrate on those minerals for now so that he can drone up enough to actually make use of this third. Back over here, we can see the Overlord Scout heading on through. Does want to be careful, though, because there will be a Stalker coming out at some point. So once that starts building and once he sees that that's building, definitely going to want to head that Overlord out of there. Here is a Probe Scout, now fully aware of the fact that this base here is taken from DarKFoRcE. So now, with that intel, let's see what Grubby decides to do in response. Moving out, actually, for a third is going to be a little tricky at this point in the game. He's going to, of course, want to mount up some forces before he even considers that. There is that Sentry, in fact, instead of the Stalker. Let's take a look back over here. Any telling signs as to what's going on? Still no gas. Again, still concentrating just on those minerals. He wants enough Queens. He wants to be able to connect the creep between all the bases, and he wants to be able to saturate this at least somewhat respectively. Back over here, anything going on yet? A couple of simulators going down. There's that sentry into play. Warp gate research finally coming through right now. Should be seeing probably some additional gateways here for Grubby. Once he does get rid of this overlord, then he's going to be making the decision to drop some additional buildings. So we're just going to have to wait and see exactly what that is. Here are a couple drones here, so going to start to work on the saturation over here at this base as well. Looks like he's not going to be transferring any workers quite as of yet. Maybe those guys, though. It looks like those guys might be headed on over. And there we go, finally back on the gas. And once he gets to 100 Vespian, probably going to be seeing a layer come on through. I would expect that. Is it going to come? Yes, there it is. There is the layer right now, so going to be starting to work on that tech. I'm probably going to be getting that Roach Warren after that, unless he decides to go for Speedling Muta, as he did last game. But as we saw last game, wasn't quite as effective as he would have liked. The Roach Hydra definitely a lot more durable. Here's a bunch of gateways being laid down right now. Oh boy. 6 gate push. Probably 6 gate push. There's 5 and 6. There you have it. Strong push here from a Protoss player. 7 gate Grubby is pushing hard. He is pushing right up against his opponent DarKFoRcE very soon. Once those gateways are up and running, he's going to start going to town, and this is very effective. We can see what's happening right here. Sentries spotting the edge of the base. Any sacrificial overlords that try to move in, these sentries' goal is to deny them from spotting this 6 gate. This is the last thing that Grubby wants. He does not want DarKFoRcE to see, this 7 gate. He does not want DarKFoRcE to see that it's coming. Also has that level 1 upgrade coming, so DarKFoRcE going to be moving out with a very strong build. We can see right now proxy pylon over here. Not sure if that's going to come into play at this stage in the game. Probably going to want to be going for another proxy pylon a little bit closer, but he could warp up his forces over here. It's not completely out of the question. We can see, of course, DarKFoRcE scouting these expos. He is going to know if Grubby tries to move into a third, but obviously, as we know, that is not happening. Grubby is not moving into a third. He is just going to be hitting very hard and very soon. Another Cybernex core. Why is he doing that? Because he's killing off this one. So there you have it. Getting this additional Cybernex core going to allow him to continue to warp in Stalkers and Sentries. Otherwise, all he would have is Zealots. But here comes the Scout right now from DarKFoRcE. This is a pivotal moment right now for Grubby. Looks like he's not going to be able to deny the Scout from actually getting vision because he has no idea that's... Oh, what am I doing? No, it's just a... yeah, wow, there's a Robo there too. So this is nuts. This is completely nuts. But here comes the Overseer Scout moving out just in the nick of time. But at the exact same moment, the push is coming right now. Here's a probe as well for a Proxy Pylon. And gonna just be, like I said, hitting hard. I mean, this is it. He is going for it right now. He is going for a victory. V for victory. That is what they say in the words of Ivan Ives. You guys probably don't know that, but you may. It's quite possible. Proxy Pylon being placed down over there. Another Proxy Pylon over here. And here comes the push. Sentry is going to be used to keep the Zerglings from getting us around on these Proxy Pylons. He does need these to be up so that he can continue up this push. Would really like to see him reformulate that wall too, if at all possible. Maybe just drop another gateway down there or something like that. But here we go. The engagement's going to be taking place very soon. The 6 gate's so threatening. A couple Stalkers warped in from that pylon back there. Looks like this pylon is going to take care of, but he's got 2. That's more than enough. Going to be trying to come up with another one, I think. There's some nice force fields, preventing the Zerglings from getting us around, and we do really need a lot more forces here from DarKFoRcE to deal with these. He's got 10 roaches coming right now. He is continuing to engage. He's going to be losing these forces. He needs to be careful. He wants to engage with the bulk of his force, with the entire might of it, basically. And going to be trying to get a sandwich here with these roaches. How much damage is he going to do? Some Guardian Shields going down, so more force fields going down here as well. Roaches going down, trying to target fire down the sentries. Those are primary targets because those force fields are so frustrating to deal with, but we've seen some really nice micro here from Grubby, just doing a great job using those force fields to keep these units away, and it looks like DarKFoRcE is going to be losing this base. If he tries to push up here, probably going to be seeing some force fields trapping as soon as is possible. What do we have over here? A couple of Zealots and Stalkers being warped in as well. He's just going to be relying on the might of his units, no longer relying on those force fields as much, and this push is really looking dangerous right now for DarKFoRcE. Looks like he's about to lose this base. See you later. He's going to be back to just the 2 bases. That's going to put him on an even footing in terms of what Grubby has for mining bases, and that's not a good position, so DarKFoRcE just calls the GG. Grubby did open up this game with a Forge Fast expand, and then we saw DarKFoRcE almost immediately respond by going up for a 3rd base himself. After researching the metabolic boost, actually Grubby cut back on any gas gathering for quite some time. He wanted to concentrate on his minerals. Since he did have that 3rd up, he needed to drone up pretty hard, work on those queens as well, so really neglecting that Vespian early game. After laying down that Forge Fast expand, Grubby's transition was into a 6 gate and a Robo, the very strong, super aggressive push. He also got that level 1 upgrades from his Forge researched as well, making the units that much more effective. By the time DarKFoRcE moved in with the Scouting Overseer, the forces of Grubby were already out and on the move, and it was a little bit too late for DarKFoRcE to properly respond to. Once again, we're going to be taking a look at the effectiveness of these force fields, also the Guardian Shield, cutting back on the damage there from those roaches. Grubby was able to protect his units from that initial wave of Zerglings, and then really all he had to do was mop up these roaches. Grubby then worked up into the third of DarKFoRcE, and he just had superior army size by that point. Also with this really nice close proxy pylon, was able to quickly reinforce. This allowed him, after mopping up the forces, to take out the third base of DarKFoRcE. DarKFoRcE, realizing he was too far behind at that point, then just called the GG. Alright, that was game number 4 in this series between DarKFoRcE and Grubby. We are tied up right now 2-2. Going to be moving on to the last game in just one moment. As always, guys, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep watching and keep owning.